does. Anything else that I missed tonight?
So, folks, once again, John DePietro saves the day. Welcome to my show, RVing with Johnny D. And tonight we're going to allow Zagami to say a few words. But before we say anything like that, we need to recognize our great sponsor, Seacoast RV on Route 1 in Saco, Maine.
Beautiful downtown Saco, Maine.
Beautiful. Now, Seacoast, if you want a park model, if you want a Winnebago motorized product, you'll find it all right there on that magic mile on Route 1. And you know what? They have great propane. Speaking of propane, that's going to be our topic tonight. And we want to thank Kenny and Amanda for sponsoring this show. So head up there to Route 1, Saco, Maine for all your RV sales, service, and parts needs.
Right. And create your own family fun on Route 1. How's that? Pretty good.
That was great.
All right.
That was great.
What's new in the world today, John?
Well, a lot of great things happening. And I just got a very, very interesting. I got into RVing about 25, 30 years ago when I was working with Kenny Rogers. Okay. Now, I shouldn't say really RVing. They were prevosting it.
Right.
Okay. So I'd get to hang out on the H345 Prevost luxury liner and said, wow, this is great. You know, I got to sleep on it overnight one night going from Connecticut up to the Cape. I said, wow, this thing is amazing. And then today at 2:00, I got a call from Kenny's brother, Roy, saying, hey, we're thinking of buying this RV. It's down in Florida. Can you check it out? Because they're going, interesting, Bob, they're going to Seattle to go on a cruise up to Alaska. And they live in Orlando. And Roy's got some mobility problems and doesn't want to fly and deal with all the craziness of the airport. So they are looking into either renting an RV or buying an RV and then reselling it right after they use it. So I spent afternoon acting like a new buyer, helping somebody out. But they're really looking forward to it. And I'm really looking forward to this show tonight. I want to say hello to Jerry, who I saw last Saturday down at the Cape. And it's probably, 45 degrees, Jerry, on Saturday with 50-mile-an-hour winds. And, Jim must be camping in East Killingly, Connecticut.
Yeah, he's getting out there a little bit. Yeah.
Ryan, I'm sending some business to Ryan. He's got some business here. And hi, Lisa. But how about you, Bob? You're making the big trek next week, right?
Making the big trek. We leave Saturday, come back to Maine for the summer. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully not bringing too much stuff with me, just heading home.
Yeah. Don't leave without your wife.
And right.
Of course, after yesterday, she may say, leave without me because you ditched me for the whole day.
That's right. If you for those that don't understand John's comment, I have a great neighbor down here, and we've been trying to get together for a drink. And since we came down in October, and obviously busy trying to set up the house and everything. And same thing with Mike. I didn't get a chance to get up to see Mike Ray. And so yesterday we said, hey, we got to have that drink. So I go over to his house around 4:00, and we're having such a great time getting to know each other. I forget about I'm supposed to be taping a segment for the Camper Report Show with John at 6:00. I don't even text him and tell him I'm not going to be there. I forget about it altogether. And then I forget about my wife. It's not that she was making dinner, but she knew I was going over there, and she goes to bed early. So
you might want to rephrase that.
What? Which way?
Then I forget about my wife.
Well, no, I didn't think she cared what time I got back. So I got back about 7:30 and messed up dinner plans and forgot to call John. And John was about ready to call 911 and say, do a safety check on Zagami and see what's going on down there. But no, it was fun. Great guy. Yeah. So tonight we are bringing back one of our more popular shows from last year at a topical time. And we're going to talk about propane, and we're going to talk about it with Mike Ray from Diversified Power Solutions. Mike, welcome back to the show.
Hey guys, how are you? Good evening.
Yeah, Great
Not to
time.
be
You know,
confused with
starting camping season. We got, you know, a million new RVers out there, half of them that never owned an RV, don't know how to turn on the propane tank. And so we'll have some fun talking. Maybe we should probably call this Propane 102 because we called it
102.
Propane 101 last year. So we'll give them, you know, by now we'll assume that they learned something and they paid attention to some of the things that you said, and they may be ready for the next level.
Wonderful. Well, not only that, but I know last time we had a lot of people that actually knew more about it than I did. So we had a nice mix.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? There's so many new people. What, another 500,000 people, at least 50% first timers since we last had you on the show. And, you know, that's that.
No, it actually, it's amazing because it's created some interesting issues, obviously, just a lot more people out there. But it also, I think you alluded to, a lot of them are jumping into an RV, not truly realizing the complexity of all the subsystems, trying to figure it out, trying to get a great experience. So I think as we have some amazing relationship with brand ambassadors, influencers, the biggest thing that they see interest in is those checklists. Here's the things you need, you know, to start. Here's the things to keep you safe. Here's the way to have the most fun. Here are the best campgrounds. And it just really is driven by what you guys said. There's just so many people out there hungry for information. And,
you know, and I'm sure Bob would agree that when a new RVer is taking possession of their new product, you know, whether it's motorized or whether it's towable, and their mind is not 100% on that orientation that the rep from the dealership is giving to them. All they want to do is get in that unit and go. And you know what? Probably one of the least thought of items is propane. Oh, that's simple. I just turn a handle on and off. But the reality is, when you think of how many items your propane controls in a normal motorhome or trailer, it probably is a better thought to pay more attention to the propane use or misuse of propane.
You're right. It's actually a very safe system. I think the RV industry's been at it for a long time, so there's a lot of good things about it. And you know, pound for pound, it's got the most energy density of almost anything. So that's why people use propane, because you get, like you said, it's one way you can carry your energy with you. And if you want to boondock or you want to, you know, be on the road and be able to use your appliances, it is really one way to get it done. So just with, you know, the proper care, to your point, proper knowledge, plus also the right equipment, safety gear, it's a great, you know, propane just really isn't scary as long as you really understand it.
Like, has there been any new regulations at all, or, you know, any industry rules that you've seen change over the last couple of years, considering COVID?
I'm not saying there hasn't, because I'm sure that folks that are closer to it than I and the RVIA and other spaces, but everything I've seen right now has pretty well been same, right? There's been a set of regulations, standards out there, and that govern how manufacturers put them together, the types of equipment that must be installed in the system, and how they're actually maintained. So it's pretty well the same.
Mm-hmm. Let me, I'm going to try to play your little video first, so the people that haven't been on or may not be familiar with your product will get a pretty good idea on what it actually does. Sometimes I screw these things up and John makes fun of me, but you know.
Time out. Sometimes, Bob?
Yeah, sometimes I get it right.
How about most of the time?
No.
Look at him. Look at, he's trying.
In activity outdoors, there are always a few key items you'll need. Whether you're organizing a barbecue with friends and family, planning a camping or caravanning excursion, or preparing for a boat trip. Safe, practical, and easy to use are important features.
That's not the one, Bob.
When planning an activity outdoors, there are always a few key items you'll need. Whether you're organizing a barbecue with friends and family, planning a camping or caravanning excursion, or preparing for a boat trip.
Bob, you want me to just give a quick recap?
Yeah, why don't you do that? Because obviously what I worked out before isn't working. So yeah,
Mike, you got to do it with the accent, though.
Oh, no. Because then, John, you just pick on me like crazy because I could not pull off English accent to save my life. It is funny. It says Gas Stop is a European company with folks in the UK, Holland, etc. So hence the voice that you hear coming across. But again, it is a European product. It is the only device in the United States that will shut off the flow of propane 100% if you ever have a major leak. As we talked about earlier, there are safety equipment on your RV, but it will not shut off the flow 100%. And that's why gas stops are so different. It's a patented device, and it is the only one that'll do that. It does three things really well. Again, it's like an airbag. It's there in case you ever have a major problem. It deploys, shuts down the flow 100%, keeps you safe. It also, right now, if you have a minor leak, how we find out is we may smell it, right? Or if I have some indication it's a bubble test, or I have it in for service and somebody at the dealership's doing their deep check. But with a gas stop, you have an ability within 5-minute process to quickly check for any kind of minor leak, pinhole and above, anywhere in your system, underneath the coach, behind the bulkheads, everywhere. So it's a peace of mind thing that you always know that you've got a sound system. You've gone on a long trip, you're setting up camp, you want to make sure you had no connections come loose, everything's great. Before you fire up your stove, etc., you do a quick minor leak check with a gas stop, and you know that you're good to go. And the third thing it does really well is it's got a really high quality gas gauge, a pressure gauge. You just don't run out of propane again, right? It gives you an indication before you run out, and that way you get ahead of it, and it gives you a little bit more control. So those three things, you now have a lot more control on what's going on in your propane system.
Mike, talk a little bit about installation. Can a person do it themselves? Is it a DIY product? Should it be done by a professional?
There you go. You've got a picture. So the gas stop itself screws right into your DO. There's two types. One, again, the one you're looking at right here, which goes right into your DOT tank. And it's super easy, just goes in line. What we also have, which I did not mention, is a gas gear product. If you can pull that picture back up again, and this is it. The one you just put in was just same thing. So
that one,
as you can tell at the end, instead of the normal pigtail that comes straight out, right? We work with the Europeans because we noticed that there was a lot of stress on those connections right there, where it comes straight out. So they designed this 90-degree fixture that gives you ability to, thank you, Bob. They basically redirects the flow, big hunk of piece of brass, or redirects the flow right, there is no stress there. Those have a 1-year warranty, the rubber one. We have a braided stainless steel. It's got a 2-year warranty. That's just total industry leading. And so they're called gas gear. Those are amount. I cannot tell you how popular those are right now. And they are flying because I think people are just getting a little frustrated with a bit of the, of the pigtails they've had and a lot of the leaking. These things are real high quality products. So again, gas stop connects right there in the DOT tank. You also, that's also the braided stainless steel. You also, so of course that covers your towables and it covers your fifth wheels. Now for your Class A and Class C's, we have also a device. It's called a gas stop, but it's a POL type. So it's all brass, and that goes on your Class A right to your tank in front of your regulator. Just goes in line. So super easy on your towables and on your fifth wheels because it's just spinning one off, spinning one on. But if you have a Class A, Class C, as long as you feel comfortable you're a DIYer and you feel comfortable going in there and just moving that and moving your regulator to the right and putting the gas stop in there, it's super easy. Otherwise, absolutely have a professional do it for you.
Right. Mike, did you provide Bob with a picture of the Class A and C?
No, I didn't download that. No.
Yeah, you showed that when we first started, actually. That was the all brass piece.
There it
is. Perfect. So that goes right into your fixed tank, and you just disconnect what's connected to your tank right now. Move the assembly to the right. It's about 2 3/4 inches extra that puts in there, and then you reconnect again that regulator connector right into that gas stop. So now we always call it safety first, because the first thing into your tank is this device that keeps you safe.
And it's real easy to start, right? You just tap it 3 times and.
Well, we call it 5 times the safety. So it's what you're doing is you prime that. If you push down on that dial, and what that does is it basically puts a check valve that's inside of that. It's a pretty sophisticated set of channels in there. And so when you push down 5 times, that sets everything in motion, balances the pressure, and you don't have to touch it again until you either turn off your tank or you have a major leak and it shuts off on its own.
And of course, I showed it on the smaller tank, which now you've got your barbecue lineup all set also. So it's not just in your RV, but in your house, or if you're heating your cottage or your camp with propane, you can work it on that also.
We are introducing that as well. You're absolutely right. Each one's tuned for its job. So for RVs, there's a unique set of requirements. So that's why we have one for RVs. And we're just introducing now one for barbecue. Now, if you do have an RV and you do have a port where you're, firing up your barbecue off your RV propane system, this is an even cooler reason why you must have a gas stop, or you should, because if it's downstream of the gas stop, and if you ever have a major leak there, somebody trips over those lines that are out there connected to your barbecue, something happens, then the gas stop will sense that flow and shut it down right then.
Well, Mike, I think it's very important to note that propane safety is a very, very important part of your overall camping trip. And I see that we've got a couple of our experts on the side here who've already commented. Walter Swenson, we ordered our second gas stop and 2 90-degree pigtails. And I know Walter's getting ready for a cross-country trip. Walter, is it still on? Every week the gas keeps going up 50 cents a gallon, so we're up to $6.29 for diesel here in Massachusetts.
Oh, geez.
It's crazy. Walter, let us know if it's still on. And Jerry down at Major's RV Center on Cape Cod, when a customer brings in a pigtail for replacement, it's always bent in a U shape. What does he mean by that, Mike?
Are we talking about if they're bringing a regular one, a pigtail? Well, what ends up happening is, propane does have elements in it that over time collect on the inside of the container of your hose. So that just gets harder and harder. And that's, if you guys have seen an older propane pigtail hose, it just gets stiffer and stiffer. So it's not supple like when you first got it. So you've got to build up. I'm assuming, Jerry, that's what you're talking about. And so that it feels like it's very rigid, because remember, it's coming off the tank and going to the regulator. So it's sort of stuck in that, that kind of position.
Yeah. I'm going to go down to the bottom because we got a couple of
tardy people,
late bloomers here tonight. Jim Roy and up at Silver Moose Restorations up in Maine, and Dante's late tonight. Okay. So Dante, you got to get at least one of these for your new motorhome. So, and maybe the dealer sells it when you go out to pick it up there. Ryan says, every time I do a regulator, I do pigtails no matter what.
It's a great idea.
Okay.
It is sort of a commodity item, and they do get a buildup inside of them. And again, there's cracking, et cetera. And that's why we really like our 90 degrees, because again, when we identified the source of most of that, it was really right there at the connection as it was, being pulled down to go towards the regulator. And 90 degrees help fit gas stops inside of a cover for a trailer. So, sometimes you got that gas stop, it adds a little bit more to beyond the tank. And with the normal pigtail, it made it tough sometimes to close that. With a 90 degree, it's a real easy fit, fits perfect.
Can you jump back to one thing?
Sure.
On those outdoor kitchens, we've got teardrops now that they're putting the kitchens in the back of the unit. Most of the trailers and fifth wheels, a lot of those have outdoor kitchens, and you look at them and you say, wow, it's close to the unit. Where would you put the gas stop? You were talking about having the propane feed come out. So would you still put it back in line with the tank? Would you have a second one out back? Because that can get tossed around a lot, in and out, back and forth on some of those kitchens.
Well, a lot of the kitchens, the ones I've seen, and I'm sure there's others, but the ones I've seen are plumbed to connect to the main propane source, the tank. And so your gas stop's still connected straight to the tank. Again, safety first. And your plumbing takes it back to an outlet that is where your kitchen hooks into your stove. So if you do have a major leak back there, again, the gas stop would sense that venting of gas and would immediately shut it down. So it would shut it down at the source.
Interesting. I saw one up there. Oh, did that one already. Michael is on. Did you give him another assignment, John, or is he?
It's interesting,
is he making up assignments as he goes along?
I'm trying to tell him to go see Todd Emerson over at Longview. He gives me a line about why I have to call for him first.
Well, no, I said to Mike, hey, Michael, you're slipping. We give you that big break during the NASCAR race there down at Stafford. But I said, get over to interview Todd Emerson. We'll run that interview.
And you know what? And he lives 10 minutes from Todd, so it's not like it's a big deal.
Yeah, he's usually always at the office. But
he's still on probation.
Well, yeah, but as a courtesy, seeing that you're representing John and I when you go there, you should call beforehand. Don't just walk in and say, "Don't you know who I am? I'm John DePietro's brother." Because they'll throw you out on your ass.
Right. But see, the thing, that's true. But see, this is living proof that if your name is DePietro, it doesn't mean you have talents on loan from God. Automatically.
Susan's got technical difficulty there.
Now, that's a while ago. She's okay now. Yeah. I plan to get there next week. Yeah, we hear that. I plan to get there next week.
Yeah, we'll wait for the video.
Well, let's offer our viewers an opportunity to ask any question that they want about propane. Is propane the up-and-comer? Is propane always going to have a place? Is propane being knocked out by solar? There's so many ways that you can look at propane, whether you have an older unit or a newer unit. But in most cases, you're going to deal with propane, and you should know its safety factors and ways to work it intelligently, right, Mike?
I'll give you one, and I just thought about it. I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but in my park model up in Maine, I've got that gigantic, much like a household propane tank out behind the unit. I should have one on there.
We have a lot of people, especially up around Michigan and some other places, they have that is their source, right? Is those big tanks.
Oh, right.
And so they end up getting the POL type, right? Because that's the connector on those tanks, a lot of them. So they'll put them in there. Some of them have they're on islands, right? And that's the only source. Yep. And so they protect themselves using those, using a gas stop. The only thing we always mention to people is gas stop will fit on any tank. I don't care if you have a 500-gallon tank. if it, as long as it has a POL connection or an ACME connection, right? There's two different types. It'll go. The only thing to be cognizant of is gas stop will shut down whenever there's a major leak, and it senses a major. The standard, the setting is anything that's over 70 standard cubic feet or north of like 100 to 120,000 BTUs, right? Is when it's saying, hey, that's beyond normal for an RV, so boom, it shuts off. So if you happen to have, a home that's got, is using gas for, say, a water heater, right, with the big water heaters, that may be north of 100,000 to 150,000 BTUs. So it all may fit right, but it keeps shutting you off, right? So that's the only thing that would hold you back. But if you're using it for pretty well everything except for that, as long as if you look at your appliances and they're less than 100, 120,000 BTUs at any one time, you're good to go.
Yeah, we have an electric water heater on that.
Bob, I see we have Frank Plange that just joined us.
Frank, have you put one on your DRV Super Cruiser there yet?
Well, does he have propane or is he all electric?
That's a good question.
Let's ask him that. And then while he's asking that, maybe we should take our break right now so that we don't forget it and pay homage to the sponsors that pay our bills.
Sounds great.
That's a pretty good idea.
Mike, have you noticed the way I'm kind of really taking over the show and making it run in a successful manner?
You're on, DePietro.
Right. So we want to say thank you to Seacoast RVs in Sacome. They're our sponsor for this show, and they are the #1 crop park model dealer in the entire United States. Now, if you don't know what park models are, you owe it to yourself, even if you don't want to buy one and never thought of it, take a ride up to Seacoast, and they always have a wide selection there. I don't know if they still have the wide selection because I know they're selling them as fast as they can get them in. But these things are built like homes. I've been to the factory out in Elkhart, and they use wood that hasn't, been shaved down to fit in certain places. I mean, it's really absolutely amazing. And they've got the elevation park model that's there now, and the sign says coming soon. Actually, coming soon is probably appropriate because I know they sold their first elevation.
We put that back because they're waiting for their second one because they sold the first one so quickly.
Yep, sold it so quickly. And they've got the Winnebago products. They've got, cool stuff that's motorized.
That'll be the first place I stop when I get back.
Yep.
Then I'm going to go to their propane section and see if he's stocking the.
Right. But Mike,
the gas stop.
Mike, I have to tell you this. Zagami has the big giant propane tank in the back of his park model, right?
Right.
You should see when he wants to go to the beach and bring the barbecue grill, the portable barbecue grill. He undoes the big propane tank, throws it in the back of his SUV because he's too cheap to go buy the 10-gallon the 10-gallon one at the local hardware store so that he can transport easily.
That'd be interesting.
I always have extras.
There you go.
It's hilarious.
Always have extras.
So I don't know if Frank had a chance to answer that question while we were doing that commercial, or whether he just signed in and then went to the bathroom.
I don't think he did. I don't think he
whatever.
did. I see Ryan's on here. Ryan, are you getting a lot of calls related to propane and propane systems? I sent you a couple of more leads today. I got a couple of more calls on stuff. One was a water heater. Yeah. So Ryan, chime in there if you're seeing a lot of what types of service calls are you getting on propane? What should people look for on there? Do that. So Mike, talk about because I know a lot of the dealers are stocking gas stop now, and you had a few last year, but are you finding that most of the big mega dealers, the Campers Inns of the world and Camping World and some of those companies, are they doing well with that, or do you not see the day-to-day activity that you should be seeing given the marketplace?
Well, we see Camping World, we're doing okay, good. General RV is doing great. Lazy Days is doing good. And we are talking to a number of the other ones that you're talking to right now. Right now, we're finding that, customers are, are looking for the information. And I think the dealers really are the best equipped to tell them exactly what's going on. But as you know, aftermarket, a lot of folks are shifting to, as like everything else, is online, right? So I think dealers have an online presence as well as a physical presence, being able to meet their customers in both ways. So we're finding lots of different stories with different dealers. Some Airstream folks are doing incredibly well. Mostly both the gas stop, gas gear packages, and especially, I don't know why, but the Airstream is just taking off.
Well, that brings up a good point. Jim Roy, you're still on here. You should pick up a case or two when you go up to the Airstream International Rally at the Freiburg Fair in September. You could sell those right off your counter with your Airstream. I don't know what you call it, but the thing that holds the door shut that you invented, that you're selling a lot of. It would give you something else to talk to those people about. But that would be there's a gigantic. The Airstream International Rally is here in Maine this year, and they're going to have. I thought I heard close to 1,000 coaches up there.
Wow.
Well, this could be something that Jim could sell right off of his display table. This is the first year that Jim's ever done a show, and he's showing. You're not going to sell a big restoration at the show, but he has other products that he has.
Let me bring up an important point here, because there's no question that virtually every point that I bring up is important, and this is no exception. But you had just alluded to a lot of the aftermarket stuff is going online and not through the retail stores. You know what? And maybe there are some cost savings there. But the reality is, if you go to a store like a Majors or like Mr. Roy, okay, and have an issue with installation, they're going to help you.
Yeah.
Okay? Even though they didn't,
absolutely,
they're going to help you. And I saw a situation recently at a store where somebody was buying a product that was, I don't know, $250. And they said, I can get it for $10 less online, and walked out. Okay. Now, try to put this in. And this is something that requires a certain degree of skill that I don't have. But there's a case where if they had spent the $10 more, and if they tried the installation and they couldn't get a fitting right or something didn't line up, I know that the retailer is going to help them with it. So let's, with items that are security and safety and security based, it's not like it's a decal, right? It's not like it's a pillow that says, I love camping. But if there's an item like propane or something to do with electricity or something to do with voltage, et cetera, or plumbing, go to your local New England RV Dealers Association location first, because number one, they're a reputable company. They've probably been in business for quite a long time, and they have the capability to put it in for you if you can't do it yourself. Is that good thinking, Bob? Isn't that?
Yeah, and it's very good because they can actually display them in several areas. They could put them on the rack, and I always suggest that they put them on the rack right next to the propane tanks. If somebody's coming in to buy a new propane tank, you want them to look up and say, "Here's the thing that you want." They ought to have. Like, do you have any kind of a point of purchase display? Because
we do.
So now that should be at the service counter. So somebody's checking out their bill, or they're coming in and they're talking to the service writer, and if there's this point of purchase display right there, so look, while you're here, why don't we add one of these to your coach?
I think you guys are spot on. That's why I really led off with the fact that dealers are the best equipped to really connect the customer to the experience, right? So if you look at the job the customer is looking to get done, like if they're buying that RV, and we at the top of the program we talked about all the new RVers, the dealer when they're delivering it, who sets them up with all, not just, all the regular gear, get the toppers, but what's the set of safety products you need? What's that ring fence? So you said surge protector, make sure you get that right. It's not sexy, but you make sure they leave with everything they need to be safe. And so you got a surge protector and you have the gas stop device, right? And so that's what we've seen when dealers are most effective is, it's part of it. It's not the thing, but it's part of the safety package. Because once you've got it, you use it. It's not something you use so much. It's just they're protecting you, right? And the same thing with surge deal. At a time, you guys may remember, surge protection wasn't a thing, right? And it just wasn't as big of a deal. Then I realized, wow, they're pretty sophisticated surge protectors out there. I got a lot of money tied up in gear. I think I want to protect it. Same thing with propane. You got a gas stop. It's a very inexpensive investment for a consumer.
Now, Mike, I think it's also important to point out that if you overdid it on Cinco de Mayo, gas stop now is not going to take care of your heartburn.
It is not. There's a lot of things it does. It ain't one of them. We will not help your heartburn. Other than peace of mind, maybe that's a heartburn thing.
Right. So next time you go into Golden Corral and hang out for half an hour at the taco bar, do not expect, and then go back out into your RV. Do not expect gas stop to be.
I assume you're speaking from experience, John.
He sounds with passion. Doesn't it sound like passion right there?
Do not expect to get relief from gas stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was sharing with you guys earlier. It's funny because the name, again, gas stop, in Europe, gas is propane. It is gas, obviously. So the brand is gas up. So when we brought to the U.S. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, and you Googled gas stop, to your guys' point, everything John was talking about was the case, right? Every antacid and everything else you could have ever thought of was really what you found. So now when you type in gas stop, you'll see the devices there. But yes, John, you're right. We fought that for a long time.
Yeah. Well, like Walter just mentioned here, Jeff spent 20 minutes to, Jeff is the parts guy. Let me tell you, Majors is one of the places that they will bend over backwards to find the part that you need, and they probably have it there. But he says Jeff spent 20 minutes determining what 50 amp power cord a customer needed, and his wife was looking at the same cord on Amazon for less, probably right in the store at the same time. She had add to cart right in front and then walked out. Now, hey, I don't know what the price difference was, but I will tell you this: if they sent the wrong cord on Amazon, do you know how long it's going to take you to get a replacement? Okay. And how do you know that the replacement you're going to get is of the same quality? Because, right, Mike, I mean, again, Mike Sokol is our electrical guy, but there's so many different grades of wire that, the gauge, I guess the gauge is the right word, right? So go to your NERVDA service department, ask them for something, or go to the parts. They're professionals. This is not play stuff. This is not playtime.
John, I got to tell you, it's one thing. I've had decades of retail experience, mostly in electronics retail space. And the one thing that bothered me was what you described was called showrooming, right? Somebody uses your showroom.
Yep.
They spend a lot of money for, that you've put people in and you train, and they come, they decide what they want, and they go buy it online. If you look at gas stop, we've been pretty passionate because I've been on the other side of exactly that situation you guys just described, where somebody come in and look at TV and, right in front of you, buy it from Amazon. So we made our price and our map pricing really strong. So nobody's going to walk into one of your dealers and do that scenario you just talked about. Because if you look online and you look at gas stop, there's one price. And So online or offline, the consumer is going to see the same value proposition.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear that, because I saw that happen last week, and I said, "Oh,
yeah,
the person doesn't know what he's in for."
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Yep. So
Explain the leak test in terms of how easy it is for the consumer to do the leak test.
It's super easy, but here's for the consumer. Say you were just got done with an 8-hour trip. You're setting up your camp before you're using your appliances. Everything's off, including refrigerator, everything. Nothing's pulling propane. You go to your propane tank. You've turned it on, and you prime the gas stop. So now everything's pressurized. You see your needles show up. You got pressure. Now what you do that's different, instead of going and just starting your operations, you turn off the tank again. So the way the gas stop's set up is that now the needle, instead of reading what's your tank pressure, it's looking at your entire system pressure downstream of the gas stop. So everything between the gas stop and your appliances, it's looking at every connection, your regulator, everything, making sure that everything's airtight, everything's fully pressurized, there's no leaks. So you go away for 5 minutes or so, keep setting up your camp, come back, and in 5 minutes, you look at the needle. If it's in the same place, you're good to go. Turn on your tank, start cooking. If it's decaying, if it's bleeding off, you've got a problem. So that's how simple it is. Now, obviously, 99% of the time, that needle stays in the same place. You turn on your tank and have fun, but there's a peace of mind to that. Stories that we hear, and we've had a number of them, that people were leaving, but they love, obviously, normally they're retired, a lot of them, and their pet is, incredibly precious. And I'm going to walk away and do a hike. I'm leaving my pet. I've got this thing in my head. I'm worried about propane leaks. Not always saying it's very low chance to be a propane leak, but it's in your head, right? What's a super quick way to check it? Boom. Then you go, I know for a fact I don't have any leaks. You leave. Our last show in January up here, the Tampa Super Show, a gentleman came by yelling, "I love gas stop." We're going back. We like it too, but I mean, why? What's going on? Well, the guy they were in a RV campground. And so he had his RV, but RVs were all around him, and they were at a fire, right? They had a little fire like you normally would. And all of a sudden they're starting to smell propane, which gets everybody excited, of course. Fire, things are going on. So he, his neighbors are all smelling around the RV, trying to see whether or not they got leaks. He goes back, does his quick minor leak check, knows immediately he's in good shape, pulls off his gas stop, and goes to his neighbors and basically checked them, and they found the one that was leaking. So he became the hero for those guys. So it solves for a really small but strange problem that you can't really tell if you got a leak anywhere in your system. Gas stop solves it for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's cool. A great testimonial, and it's less than $100. I mean, that's why I said
$79.99.
So yeah, $80. Why every RVer wouldn't have one on their coach, and I think that's where some of the dealers are missing the opportunity. Everybody likes to have the big sale, but you could probably sell a couple of dozen a week if you talk to everybody that came into your parts and accessory store, or everybody that checked out at the service counter.
If you're going to spend $15, $20, $30, $40, $50, $60,000 on a unit, does it make sense to add another $100 to it?
Yeah,
it certainly does. I mean, you're not going to know it. It's not, even if they finance it and pay 12 cents a year for the next 40 years on that. But, it just makes sense to have this.
And a lot of people are already spending money. So they're spending money, could be $20, could be $40 on just a gauge, right? Because there's another pain point, which is I'm running out of propane, and it always happens in the middle of the night, right? It never happens during the day. Right. So in the middle of the night, furnace.
In the middle of the night, on a cold fall night.
Cold night, yeah. Right. So they're buying the gauge to at least get on top of that. So for basically a bit of an upcharge, you're getting all this protection. You have the ability to stay on top of your major and minor leaks, and you can make sure you don't run out. So really what you're doing is people are already trying to solve for some of their problems. This one just takes it all the way.
Interesting.
Cool. You know, one thing I wanted to say here, I had asked earlier about, Walter, are you still taking that big trip? And he responded that there might be some medical issues that may prevent that trip. And the thing I want to say now is
he's planned it for 2 years.
No, he says it trip is tentative right now due to some medical issues.
I saw
Now,
that.
let's be very clear here, folks. If you're over 60 years old, I don't care how good your health has been up until this time, but you can't put off many trips. And you know, the reason we bought our RV when I was 55 years old, I said to my wife, look, we've got to live while we're alive, because the first couple of events we went to were events that the average, you know, we were 20 years younger than the average person that was there. And they had these beautiful coaches, but they could barely get in and out of them. They couldn't get under them to you know, change anything if it needed to be worked on or whatever. So anybody who's watching right now that is a new buyer, yes, it's good to have long-range plans. Yes, it's good to, you know, plan ahead so you can fund the trip. But it's also a realization that if you're over 60, everybody's one doctor's office visit away from saying, you know what, honey, we can't go on that trip. Okay. It happens. It happens. It's a reality. So don't plan too far out, maybe a week or two, whatever. But you know what? That's my soapbox for the night.
Okay. Mike,
Always
are there
remain flexible, right?
Are there any new products coming downstream or any enhancements that we should know about?
I think we just launched the gas gear late last year, and we're still in the middle of getting that totally rolled out. We are working on a number of other products that will be hitting by next year. So the barbecue right now will go into test by fall. It'll be hitting the market in a pretty big way. And then next year we have a couple other things that are going to be hitting as well. And they will, one of them is for the RV sector.
You know, you going back to the Tampa Super Show next year?
Yeah, that thing's a blast.
Yeah, you had a good spot. Yeah, you had a good spot and you had a lot of activity.
Yeah. One thing that we found early on is there are so many people out there that are so passionate about it. That's one thing why I love being part of this. You know, we're sort of new to it. You know, we've been in business 25 years, but mostly in the electrical surge protection we work with utilities and cable companies, et cetera. So we work at that different level. And we got involved a few years ago. And the thing that really we're having a blast with just this community, this RV community. And the Tampa show just always brings it home to us because we had a chance to talk to a lot of folks. We have a lot of great relationships with, you know, the influencers, brand ambassadors. We have like 20 of them. And people have tried it, beat on gas stop, videos all over the place. And we were blown away. These folks, we did not realize the kind of following and passionate commitment people have for them. We'll have we call them brand ambassadors, but an influencer in our booth. People will wait 45 minutes plus to just say hi to them, get a picture with them. And to me, it's wild. But that's the kind of passion these people, that's how much they like what they add to, you know, their experiences.
Based on
Peace of mind, right, Mike? Hopefully you never need to use it, but it's good to have peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
Based on Tampa, have you got any plans to go to some of the other consumer shows like our show in Boston? Because some of these influences, are they also going to shows? Like we don't get Techno RV up here, but have you got any plans or any ideas on how you could help spread that to the consumer shows that come after? Well, actually, we go before. We're a week before Tampa usually on that, but there's a lot of big consumer shows. The only other big one the size of Tampa would be Hershey in September.
We'll be at Hershey. We'll be at Frog, the Forest River Rally. We'll be at the Grand Design National Rally. I'd love to talk to you offline. Had not thought about that one yet, but let's talk offline on that one.
Are you going to be at the Alliance rally?
No, not at this point. There are so many rallies and connections that we started adding them up and went, oh my God. So
yeah, but that one's special. John and I are headlining that one.
Are you?
With the MC.
That sounds like a really good one.
Yeah. This is our second year. We were so damn good last year, they invited us back this year.
I'm writing it down. Let's talk about that too.
A very loyal audience. They love their product. They love their product. And
yeah, well, that's great. Well, you know, we've since we chatted last time, it has just been going gangbusters. We've actually online, if you look, it's basically we've worked with Techno RV, you mentioned them, and Amazon side, because we felt that was a trusted brand. You know, Eric and Tammy and those folks, it was too much of a Wild West show online. So we tightened that up, and we're continuing to bring on dealers. It feels like every other month. So if anybody out there wants to chat, you know how to get a hold of us.
Yeah, so Frank didn't answer his question on whether he had it on the coach, but he did say, did you see the RV recall due to faulty LP fittings? We did. We talked about it prior to the show, Frank, and it's a little early. I've talked to a couple of manufacturers. It's not as bad as what the write-up said it was, but that the reason for the delay in getting letters out is there is a 60-day period from the time that NHTSA, the National Highway Transportation Safety Group, identifies a recall. They have to give the manufacturers 60 days to come up with the mitigation plan. So we'll be talking more about that in the future, probably within the next month or two. But there is a recall out there. It's not public yet, only because of the way that NHTSA does their formulation. But a person got a hold of it's almost like the Supreme Court. Somebody got a hold of a document that was not ready for release and released it too early. But on that note, I did talk to Mike earlier. Mike, we say everybody should have an RV. Explain how you explained it to me, why the gas stop is even more important in light of the fittings and the potential problems.
I think like everything else, things happen, right? So it might be a recall today, it might be a thing tomorrow. Just having a gas stop there helps you in a number of ways. One, if whatever happens, you know, say you've had a dramatic break in that regulator, a catastrophic break, and you're venting at a major rate, gas stop just shuts it off. So it just keeps you safe no matter what's going on downstream. If by chance it develops a slow leak, and it could be at the regulator, it could be at a connection, gas stop, you can quickly identify it because you'll be doing that minor leak check on a very consistent basis, and you're always on top of whether or not your RV is totally, you know, up to snuff or not. So today there's potential of this. It may or may not be a big thing. There was also one late, you know, last year, different regulator issue that, again, things like that will happen because, you know, nothing's perfect and there will sometimes be something that'll have to be fixed. But having a gas stop right there at your tank keeps everything downstream of it. At least if it develops any kind of a major problem, why not have something there that will shut it off 100%?
Yeah, makes sense. Walter answered a question. I know, sorry, I don't want to go back. I'm going to look for it right now, but the pigtails are available in 12 and 18, right?
That is correct.
Both the braided and the regular one?
That is correct. They're on Amazon. They're also on Techno RV, the 18s and the 12s, braided and rubber.
Yeah. And Walter says, we will try to find you at the Frog Rally. No, Walter, you will find them at the Frog. I mean, I know, you know.
Where is that?
It's not 1,000. Well, probably.
Elkhart?
Where
it's
is
up
the
in
Frog?
Elkhart.
Up in Elkhart?
Yeah. Walter, just he put my email. Please shoot me a note. And we'll get their contacts back and forth. So let's make sure to make that happen. I'd look forward to it. And if you have any issues finding it, we were just doing a scan today, and they were there. But sometimes, Amazon works as far as some of the search engines. But I mean, there's a ton going out of theirs every month. So just give me a shout if you run into any issues at all.
So wait, Jerry canceled too. Jerry says John is correct. Jerry, you're not supposed to tell John that he is correct, or that he is right, or that he is good looking, or he sings like Frank Sinatra. I thought you would have known that after 6 years, but
and has a full head of hair.
Right, we just
Wait a
canceled.
minute.
Yeah, I resent that. Yeah,
I resemble that.
I resemble that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
You guys
funny.
are too funny.
We are coming right to the wire. Okay, Walter says it's Goshen Fairgrounds.
Yep.
No, it's got to be Elkhart Fairgrounds in Goshen.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that's the thing.
Either way,
Either way, yeah.
Right.
we'll be at the fairgrounds in 2
Well, I
weeks.
look forward to seeing you there, Walter. And we'll be definitely jumping around. And guys, thank you again. Just absolutely appreciate it. Loved it last time. Love it this time. I like the questions a ton, especially being put to the test by some of the folks. So
So, Mike, when you're ready to introduce the barbecue product, you could be a sponsor for a few months here on RVing in New England. And
there you go.
We'll give away some products, and we'll
We are giving away
promote
products.
the hell out of it.
There's something since then. The show's
I knew there was something I forgot.
Right. Well, we're going to give away 3 gas stops, and I'm going to pick in our comments. So I'm going to pick the 12th, 24th, and 36th comment. Those 3.
Better hope we got 36.
Huh?
Better hope we got 36.
Yeah. And those will win. And there was something else you wanted to throw in, Mike.
I wanted to have some folks try out 2 of the 18-inch gas gear, the braided stainless steel gas gear. So giving 2 of those away as well.
Okay. Well, I'll make an executive decision. Let's give those to Ryan Hadley and to Walter Swenson, because Walter's already been buying some of your products. So we'll thank him for doing that. And he's always a good reviewer, and he's honest with his reviews. So
Love it.
we'll do Ryan and Walter Swenson on the pigtails.
Okay.
All right? Okay.
Willie Nelson gets the pigtails too.
I get it too. Yeah. I have trouble with putting them together. Yeah. All right, Mike, thanks very much for.
Guys, it was great. Thank you.
We will see you on some rallies out there. And we will talk offline about the shows and some of the other things that we can have to talk about.
And we want to thank our sponsor.
That's right. Oops.
We want to thank our sponsor, Seacoast RVs, for being with us again this evening. And remember, propane, you can get your propane at Seacoast RV. Route 1, Saco, Maine, right near Old Orchard Beach. Stop by, say hi to Kenny and Amanda, and tell them you saw them on RVing in New England.
Absolutely. And we will see you folks next week. We'll close out here right now. Safe travels.
This edition of RVing in New England was a presentation of the New England RV Dealers Association. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.